about page 47
go there.
Of the Supreme Court judgment, which for me is very instructive. It is so much encapsulate and summarized the whole essence of the rest as observed by the Apex Court. Now, and if you look at it, it said the three issues submitted for determination are hereby jointly resolved in favor of the appellants.
In favor of
the
appellant,
Naladi Usman and
Wokocha.
And in summary, both the trial court
and the court secretary
had no jurisdiction to entertain the suit, which you have mentioned.
Yes.
And if you read through, it then say that consequent upon the foregoing, the decisions of both trial court and the court below, recognizing Barrister Julius Abure as the national chairman of the first respondent, which is Labour Party, are hereby set aside.
Abure.
Is hereby struck out for want of jurisdiction.
Yes.
But it has been interpreted by Mr. Abure differently and his team. That look, yes, the trial court and the appeal court said that they don't have jurisdiction, but never said that the leadership does not exist. How do you interpret it? Because there are those who are asking and say, for you, for example, Senator Victor Ome, you are perhaps one of the most experienced party administrators that we have in Nigeria.
Yes.
There was a time there were almost 4 divisions of APGA. There was APGA PDP, APGA ACN,
and I prevailed all through.
So with your experience,
yes.
How do you, because there are those who say if the PWB, Senator Naladi Usman, part of Labour Party will exist, you have to find a way of quietly letting Julius Abure out of the scene. How do you achieve it?
The truth is that you first of all will have to accept what is written clearly in simple English. That the order made to INEC to recognize Abure as the national chairman of the Labour Party is hereby set aside. What that simply means is that Julius Abure is no longer the national chairman of Labour Party. That's what the Supreme Court has done. And remember, it was he himself who knows that internal affairs of political parties are not justiciable. He was the one that took the matter to court. And now that at the end, the Supreme Court has threatened the law and descended heavily on the order he has been parading that enable INEC to deal with him. He says, no.
But is he going around saying that he remains, how do you deal with it? That's the question.
Maybe Abure is now the West African Court of Appeal because he has now defied the order made by the Supreme Court. The door has been shut on him, and the only thing left to him is for him to reflect over the admonishment given to him by the Supreme Court that officers of the party should be humble enough to leave office when their tenure expires. His tenure has expired, he knows it, and he was in breach of an agreement which became a consent judgment on the area that he should do his own things, and he refused to do that. From that time Abure has not done any Congress. He has totally out of to join the process again. If he thinks that the party is immoral, he should come back and contest. But he cannot make himself chairman without going through the process of getting himself re-elected. So the time has been shot out of him. And so a group that is now empowered by the party to conduct those congresses and conventions are already in place. Let him not run around and deceive the public. As far as very, very terrible, and what people confuse themselves with is purely because they do not know how all these things started and how we got to where we were. The neck of Labour Party comprises normally the members of National Working Committee and other statutory members. Statutory members, there are people who are elected who are not members of National Working Committee, but by virtue of the positions they occupy in the country, they are members of NEC, NIC, elects OT. governor elections, being the governor of Abia State, produced by Labour Party, is an automatic member of National Executive Committee. So also his deputy, and then the speaker of any House of Assembly, produced by the party. Then there are statutory members of NEC from the NLC, 3 members of the NLC, and 2 members from the TUC. So if you put them together, you now have 9. The Labour Party has a situation where the members of the National Working Committee that are the members of the National Executive Committee left their tenure to expire, and they did not do anything constitutionally acceptable to renew their positions to continue to be members of the National Executive Committee. And that's where the class of Abure and members of the National Working Committee belong to. Their tenure expired.
Let me ask you,
if your tenure expired,
let me ask you,
Senator, member of that
were you at the NEC meeting where the NEC agreed to the extension of the Abure-led NWC?
Yes, I was there in Asaba. I was there in Asaba immediately after the election, in 2023.
So why do you say that they did not do anything? Because it was the NEC that authorized the extension of the NWC tenure.
Yeah, the extension is subject to his conducting valid ward congresses, local government congresses, state congresses, then the convention. So, and this was what we have in the consent judgment, which Abure and his secretary, Farouk Umar, signed after the Independent National Electoral Commission took the leadership problem in Labour Party to the Alternative Dispute Resolution Department of INEC. Remember that it is not just now that people started pushing Abure, that is no longer the chairman of Labour Party. He had one barrister, Callistus Okafor, contending with him, quarreling with him. He has members of the NLC who are the actually founders of the party, who registered the Labour Party itself, because he was state secretary. He was national secretary of Abu Salam executive, but he died. So in the ensuing power tussle, the party got entrenched in crisis and in litigations. INEC had to bring all of them to the ADR department, Alternative Dispute Resolution Department. All of them submitted themselves to that ADR, and after the discussions there, all the parties agreed that Abure should be allowed to lead the party into the election we had in 2023. And after that, we should conduct world congresses, local government congresses, state congresses, and now a national convention that will put to rest the struggle for who is the authentic chairman of the party. That settlement was drafted. Madin Omar signed on behalf of the NLC with his secretary. Abure signed with Farouk Umar, his secretary. The settlement is there. And this settlement was taken to the Federal High Court before Honorable Justice Gabriel Kolawole, as he then was, because he now moved to the Court of Appeal. So he entered it as a consent judgment, binding all the parties. So the agreement is that Abure will conduct world congresses, local government congresses, state congresses, and all-inclusive national convention that will now produce final leaders of the party.
So it's based on the fact that the inability, because the explanation of the Abure-led NWC is that, look, the tenure of the lower layers is about 3 years, and that of the NWC is 4 years, and it has not expired.
When did they start?
Why would you replace a group or a leadership that hasn't had an expired tenure? Those are the posters they have.
That is a lame argument. Remember that this is 2025, and this thing happened in 2022, 3 years ago. 3 years ago. Does it mean that the people he's talking about, their tenure has not elapsed after 3 years again? But that is not even the issue. The issue is that the understanding for which he was left to function as national chairman in the first place is that within 1 year, he will be able to conduct these world congresses, local government congresses, state congresses, and then final convention.
That's the anticipation.
Yes, that's what he was expected to do. And when the election was concluded, he sought for extension of tenure because litigations were in court. And that 1 year was given to him. That was to expire in 2024. Instead of doing what he undertook to do in agreement, in the consent judgment, he refused to do the world congresses, he refused to do the local government congresses, he refused to do the state congresses, and attempted to do a convention because he was desperate to return himself and his colleagues as members of the National Working Committee of the party. The reason was that they felt that the party has expanded and there was threat to their various positions. So what they tried to do was to come together and run and renew their tenure without doing the necessary things that will lead to that end.
Does the Labour Party constitution prescribe that the election has to be from bottom up, or from, did it specifically say that?
That's what they are banding about, to run away from what was in the consent judgment.
That's the error, that's the gap in the constitution.
Well, it doesn't avail them because the agreement that established Abure as national chairman of the party was conditional, that within 1 year, he will establish structures of the party through elective congresses from the ward, local government, states, then national convention. So for the fact that he didn't follow this agreement, which he signed with his secretary, saying that there are different tenures of lower officials of the party does not avail him. Again, if you go to section 222 of the Nigerian Constitution, it says that parties shall renew their leaderships at regular intervals of 4 years. 4 years each is in the Constitution. Even if the Labour Party Constitution says that some will be 3 years, some will be 4 years, it will be inconsistent with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and it will not hold. So you see, desperation drove them into this ditch. I advised them, don't do this thing you are doing. When they said they were going to do convention, as former national chairman of Abure for 10 years, I pointed it out to them. I said, you cannot go to the convention without doing world congresses, doing local government congresses, doing state congresses, because these are the people that will come to vote for you at the convention. So they refused to do that because they were afraid and they were trying to cut corners to...
Let me allow you, Senator Umar, to listen to what Mr. Abure said. And he said the Senator Nanade Usman, caretaker committee, should not go ahead, should not dare holding any next meeting, but they did anyways. But listen to what Mr. Julius Abure said. That this was a day before, this was 2 days ago, a day before the Senator Nanade Usman, the Peter Obi, and Alex Oti convened at a Transcorp meeting here in Abuja. Take a listen to him.
It is, however, regrettable that certain actors, most notably Senator Nanade Usman, who ironically is not a member of our party, and Delitu Nwo Kocha, have chosen to misrepresent the ruling, deliberately misleading the public and attempting to manufacture confusion through a purported caretaker committee. Let it be stated categorically that the so-called committee is both unconstitutional and illegitimate. Let it be known within the Federation and beyond that there is no vacuum in the leadership of Labour Party.
How would you react to that, Senator Ume?
No, this is a case of a man who does not want to address the problem he has by calling people names, not members of Labour Party.
But is Senator Nana Usman a member of your party?
How can she not be a member of her?
Where did she register? I imagine that you registered from the ward.
She registered in her ward in Kaduna. These things have been established before now. But let me tell you why I'm telling you that he doesn't want to come to terms with his unfortunate situation now. When his tenure expired, INEC, the body empowered by the Constitution to monitor and regulate activities in political parties, determined that his tenure has elapsed and stopped dealing with him and his executive. At that time, nobody was dragging anything with him from among us. He went to INEC to attend a meeting called by INEC. They asked him to leave, that his tenure has expired with his secretary. A second meeting was called again. He went, and they sent him away. That's how we even started making these inquiries, knowing that those things he was told to do that he did not do, INEC took note of them. And INEC now told our party people on inquiry that Labour Party has no leadership anymore, that Abure's tenure has expired with his executive. And that was what prompted the party coming together. I told you there are 9 statutory members of NEC. Their tenures did not expire because they were just elected in 2023. And the highest among them is Governor Lexoti. That was what led the NEC election to call the meeting.
Yeah, in that letter that was signed here after that meeting, we saw the letter countersigned by Mr. Peter Obi and Alex Oti. And there are those who think,
no, Peter Obi signed because Peter had been appointed national leader of Labour Party.
By who?
By the organ, by Abure himself, by his own leadership.
So he has an automatic NEC.
As a leader of the party, he has become a member of that NEC.
Because the status of a president, if there is a president,
yes,
it's provided in your constitution that it has an automatic statutory membership of NEC, but you do not have an elected president in your party. And there are those who are questioning Mr. Peter Obi's power to convene NEC, and the question is that who even convened that NEC meeting?
Dr. Alex Oti, as a statutory member of NEC, still subsisting. His tenure is still subsisting because he's still the governor of Abia State. And all other statutory members are still in their positions, 9 of them. It was these 9 that convened that meeting. And those of us that were elected through the platform of the party to the National Assembly and the state assemblies, who have become important members of the party.
But that's against what the constitution of your party says.
Just a moment, Senator.
Just a moment. Yeah? You can be invited based on your status and as an elected member of the National Assembly and State Assembly, but the power to convene NEC is embedded in the NWC.
NWC does not exist anymore. When I tell you,
if you don't have the power to convene, if you convene, is that not unconstitutional?
No. Members of NEC can come together and convene a meeting.
But the constitution does not say so.
No.
That's not what your constitution says.
No, it's not.
I'm asking you. I'm talking to you based on your constitution.
Let me tell you, when the tenure of the National One Committee expired, they have ceased to exist. They can't even convene any meeting on behalf of the party because they don't have subsisting tenure anymore.
Let me ask
you. And at that situation,
yeah.
let me tell you, because I need to run through something before the time runs out.
Go ahead, please.
The statutory members of NEC that were still subsisting called this meeting, who were all there to discuss the problems of the party. And in the end, a caretaker committee had to be put in place because the party has no leadership, the party had become rudderless. And when the caretaker committee was constituted, INEC was duly informed. And let me tell you, INEC was duly consulted. How are we going to get out of this mess? This man's tenure has gone. And he said there are statutory members of NEC that are still there. And they started the process. The caretaker committee was put in place. And before we could start doing any work, Abure sued INEC that stopped recognizing him and his leadership as leaders of Labour Party. He was the one that took INEC to court, not any of us. He took INEC to court. And while in the court, the National Catholic Committee that was constituted just about that time sought to be joined. They were joined in the suit at the Federal High Court, at the trial court. The suit Abure filed against INEC. Finally, the Federal High Court delivered judgment and ordered INEC to start dealing with Abure as the chairman of the party. This is the origin.
Yeah.
So wait. The
judgment
was delivered. Let me run through.
Yeah.
Then, when that judgment was delivered, INEC, dissatisfied with the judgment, went on appeal. Then Nana Usman and Wokocha, the secretary, on behalf of the National Catholic Committee, went on appeal as well. At the Court of Appeal, the Court of Appeal rightly determined that the matter is not justiciable, but went into a foray of saying there was a place where a suit was determined and the name of Abure appeared there as a national chairman of party in a nomination dispute, not leadership dispute. And said therefore that he's still the chairman. That's how we got to the Supreme Court. Nana Usman and the secretary took the matter to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court...
I'd like to go straight to the page 47.
Yeah, so before you go to 47, Abure also filed a cross appeal against the appeal brought by Nana Usman and the secretary on behalf of National Catholic Committee. Yes. So the Supreme Court considered all the arguments of the councils and came to a final conclusion that that the trial court and the Court of Appeal had no jurisdiction to go into the matter, and that they have no power whatsoever to declare Barrister Julius Abure as national chairman of Labour Party, and proceeded to set aside that order made by the Federal High Court directing INEC to recognize Abure as national chairman of Labour Party, and also dismissed his cross appeal. This is somebody who said the judgment did not change anything in his status. So by removing that order, which was made in his favor, that INEC relied on to start dealing with him against their wish, against what they know to be the truth, that his tenure has expired, the Supreme Court now quashed it. And having done so, they have returned the party back to the position where INEC rejected his leadership.